let's try the samples. While he was still in Portugal, I arranged for him some samples. Once he would come back to his home, the samples would be standing, like, this is just an extra mile that I've tried to do as a salesperson. I'm like, let's do some kind of like wow effect, So he got back home, he takes the phone and he sends me a picture. He's like, is that you? And I was like, of course that's me, He was like, that's really beautiful. I love the taste. That was a FMCG sector food product. So that's amazing. And he was like, how have you been able to do that so fast? I'm like, we have UPS as well. And we have like, those fast shipment times, and that's not a problem.
Your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Carl Ponto. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company in daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Olivija Senžikė. She has 12 years of experience in the import and export business across international markets. She's a graduate of the Harvard Business Management School, has raised and created over 27 million euros in profit for over her 12 years in business, has managed multiple companies with a valuation of over 500 billion euros. She is the shareholder of 7 unicorns right now, and is, on top of all her business successes, also happily married with a husband of 17 years and a proud mom of a 6-year-old son. So congrats on building such a full life, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Carl, for having me today. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on the show because you seem like the perfect person to talk to about building relationships across borders and across cultures, which these days is important for any business that wants to go global, is understanding those cultural dynamics. So I'd love to hear more about some of your experiences building relationships with the different companies you do in different cultures, and how you make that all work. Because it's something that's also personally for me is fascinating as someone who loves international travel. So I'd love to hear how you make all these relationships work and what your secret is.
Thank you so much. The secret I cannot tell right now, but maybe in the near future I will be able to tell you that. So my business is something what I love to do probably since I was like 7 years old. I love to do sales. I love to basically connect with people. I'm a super connector as well as you are, Carl. So that's basically. That's how I started my business, basically, because I was thrilled to meet with people, to understand like how they've been able to grow from hero to zero, other way around, from zero to hero, let's say like that, or other way around, it doesn't matter. Yes. So basically, I can tell you like so many different success stories, but the main understanding that I have right now as being in my own business for 2 years is that you have to have an empathy. So you have to understand what someone else is going through. Like, for example, if you don't step in someone else's shoes, like, you will never be successful. So this is how my business is being driven. So I'm basically just trying to understand what everybody is going through and trying to help them. This is how the business becomes international, because you hear somebody's problem from Dubai, and then you hear that somebody can basically help them from US, and you just connect them, and the problem is sorted, So this is how my business is being able to grow, and this is how I'm becoming, how you could say, this is how I'm growing together with my business throughout the experience, throughout hearing what everybody is going through. So yeah, so basically my success is stepping in someone else's shoes. It sounds like it doesn't sound so interesting or something, but it's still, it's something what is helping me to grow, to step in someone else's shoes. So yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like the little kind of cliche or kind of something that's been, it's not a profound insight, but it's one of those basics that people often forget. And you hear about, you think about like star athletes, people that really reach the top of their game. They get there by practicing the fundamentals every day, even though they're veterans of their sport. It's about that commitment to the fundamentals that keeps them sharp and helps them achieve that success. Because when it comes to the time when they have to be performing on the court, on the field, they aren't going to falter when on the basic things, the little things that seem so kind of beginner level skills. And something like empathy, I think people or they assume they are better at it than they actually are, or they kind of overestimate their own skill at it, or they don't understand how much better they could do it if they practice it more. And so I think, well, yeah, at first glance, it seems like a no-brainer. It's something that they haven't built that habit, or they've let the habit atrophy over time, that they're no longer as good as they think they are. And so it's important to hear that reminder from someone who makes that a habit and has built that muscle up and maintained it, because it is such a key to success. And it's especially like internationally, there's all these differences in culture and the way
changes as well,
and the way they show up to meetings, and so if you approach it just from the way you do it is the way it's going to have to be done, or the only way you'll operate, you're gonna end up shooting yourself in the foot and miss out on a bunch of opportunities because you're not meeting people where they are. And so that starting with empathy mindset, I'm not surprised has led to the sort of success you have. And I'd love to hear some like success stories you've had that really stand out in your mind as examples of your empathy paying dividends.
I will tell you a couple of stories. Before I move on, I can share one quote as well. It sounds cliche, but Tony Robinson was my inspiration. So he said one time, and when I was 12 years old, I heard it. He said, be consistent. So once you are consistent, you will be having a success, So I'm trying, even for example, if I'm sick or something, if I'm going through something, I'm always trying to be consistent. And I learned that if you are consistent, at least 80% of your life, you will be able to get there, So that's something what I learned throughout the life, So in anything, in sports, in business, in relationship, in anything, if you're consistent, consistency is a key to success. So yeah, so I can just agree on that. And on my success story, so I can tell you so many, but the first one that pops in my head, for example, I was hired by one manufacturer. They've been having a product that was a seasonal product, just for you to imagine. So their sales been sky high on the summer, and on the winter time it was completely dead. And it was really stressful for them, because you can imagine for the summer you have to have a particular amount of employees, but then you find the good ones and you have to say, I'm so sorry, but I don't have how to pay you, for example. And of course, they've been trying to make enough money to last throughout the winter, throughout the autumn as well. But the business was basically seasonal thing. And I stepped in and I was like, okay, where are you selling your products? And they've been like, oh, just in Europe. In Europe in general, as European Union, we have more or less similar, let's say, weathers. So we have the same summer and we have winter. When it's winter, it's super cold. When it's summer, it's usually super warm, So everybody's going through the same seasonal effects, So I started to do some research, and I have found that, of course, we are able to sell in the different countries, but of course we need to do particular changes. So number one is to get proper certificates in place, because in Europe, we are really strict about certificates. So for example, if you don't have a European standard, you cannot sell to the different country. All the products needs to be batch tested, they have to have a veterinarian certificates, each product. And of course, you have to have capacities to expand in different countries. Now, when it comes to the manufacturers, why I'm sometimes not being able to help, if they are grown a lot, I'm not able, if they don't have capacity. So that's number one. I think sometimes when I'm saying I'm so sorry, but I'm not able, because once the supermarket gonna come, these are the capacities they expect you to do, and you won't be able to do that. But this company, they had it all. They had certificates, they had manufacturing capacities, they had something niche as well, which was not around each block, So I was like, okay, let me do some research, and I was able to find that in Brazil, this product is being bought throughout the year, so they don't have a seasonal thing, So they just buy it anytime throughout the year. So what I did, I was basically, I traveled to Portugal because in Portugal, this is where usually many Brazilian people are coming, and they come to these trades, to these fairs, they have they come in these exhibitions to connect. And I was able to find a really wonderful distributor that was like, okay, I'm really thrilled. Let's try the samples. While he was still in Portugal, I arranged for him some samples. Once he would come back to his home, the samples would be standing, like, this is just an extra mile that I try to do as a salesperson. I'm like, let's do some kind of like wow effect. So he got back home, he takes the phone and he sends me a picture. He's like, is that you? And I was like, of course that's me. He was like, that's really beautiful. I love the taste. That was a FMCG sector food product. So that's amazing. And he was like, how you been able to do that so fast? I'm like, we have UPS as well, and we have like those fast shipment times, and that's not a problem. So he tried the product, and now each 15 days, 40 feet containers are leaving the manufactory, and we have a contract for 5 years. So because I've done some kind of like a wow effect for him, he remembers me. We are still in amazing contact. He is my number one person in Brazil if it comes to anything like sourcing, like import, export, so he helps me a lot, and we have a relationship now. I don't know, like probably like something up to 5 years that I know him. We send like pictures to each other, like Happy New Year, Happy Christmas, and these kind of small details, they do really matter. If somebody sees that the human is behind like this whole manufactory, this whole like massive production, they try to how we could say, they start to trust you. So these small details, they do matter. And the company was able to make, so let's say one container is worth around 100,000. So they are making this each 15 days, so there is a nice amount of money there. But of course, everything was built like, through empathy, through understanding, like what are the client's needs, like, through checking the market, like, is there a demand, like what kind of prices we need to have to enter that market. So yeah, so basically that's one of the success story that I do remember. And to finalize, I can, yeah.
I love that story. I love that story so much. I just,
thank you.
I think it's cool because you've understood your client initially, what their needs were, and you understood like we're trying to get this from a seasonal thing to a year-round thing so we can support our team, because otherwise we don't have any demand in the winter. And then you're able to understand like their needs, empathize with them, and then you found a market using your expertise that was a year-round consumer of these sorts of products. And then you also understood like Portugal and Brazil speak the same language. So if you're trying to find the closest people to you, they're going to necessarily have connections with Brazil, you go to Portugal. And then having that, what I really think is one of the highlights for me was the way you got the samples to the guy's house before he got back himself. That just shows, like I said, that wow factor and that level of connection. And I'm sure when you have that, you said you had this 5-year relationship now, that helped you stand out and really cement yourself in his mind as someone who's worth having that sort of relationship with, because you're thoughtful enough to respect that his time and his attention were going to be other places when he got home. So having your product there right away, even before he got there, so it's immediately like kept that momentum going, is such a genius move that I don't think everyone, especially like every salesperson, is going to be considering. But the amount of like downtime, or how much you would have lost if you had to wait a week after you got back for it to show up, all that sort of stuff would have just killed the opportunity.
100%.
So that kind of thoughtfulness of like, it's going to be like a gift for you that you didn't expect, that wowed him. And then and then obviously your import export, you're able to make it work for your client to now have this consistent revenue every 15 days as these multiple containers go out. So it's such a great story of not just having the business expertise and acumen, but understanding your clients' needs and empathizing with them, and then and be able to use those same skills to build a relationship with someone that has now lasted for 5 years, which with how quickly things change, that's a big landmark duration for this sort of relationship, especially over distance and different cultures and stuff. So that's really cool, and it shows how your approach to building the relationship and maintaining it is a differentiator that helps you maintain these things longer than most people might even think possible, or might not even be able to obtain, because they're going about the initial relationship building process wrong.
Yeah, agree on that 100%. Like, just because, like, I was able to send the samples, I wasn't wasting any time. I was able to like make this wow effect, and he still remembers this. And he told me like a really funny story. He was like, I brought around like 400 different cards, after this exhibition. He was like, the only person that I remember from this exhibition is you. Like, so we've been able to wow him, and we still have amazing relationship with him. So I'm super happy about this success story. And this is just one for many that we had. Like, as a salesperson, I'm trying to always do this wow effect, to leave some kind of mark, because you have to be different. Everybody can like pick up a card, like, call or send a message or send a spam email. That's how I call them, so you won't be going anywhere far with these kind of steps. You have to have like a different KPI system, like, in your company, in your head as well. Like, we are as a company, we are a bit old school like company, because we have this, like, how you could say, we have this rule. Once you get a business card, you have to send a proposal within 24 hours. If the client even says no, you still have to like write an email, like, any kind of answer is equal to potential sale, even if it's a no, so basically I'm still an old schooler, if you could say it like that. I'm still trying to follow up straight away, like, send an email, give a call, like, to explain to them that I'm a real human being, and so on. So so I can tell you many, many, many more stories.
Yeah, I definitely don't have time for all the stories, but I love that little follow-up about how the guy said he had 400 some odd business cards from the event, and you're the only one that stood out. And actually, it ties into something that I was writing about recently, was that the real people that are successful at business networking are more the introverted ones that can go deep with relationships instead of skimming the surface with a bunch of small touches that don't really stand out. Because the guy has 400 business cards and got 399 of them because no one else had samples waiting for him when he got home from the trip. And so it's, when it comes to the mindset to go into these networking events, and the mindset going into the building these relationships, even in international situations, it's worth going in there thinking about how you're going to wow people and how you're going to understand what's going to impress them, and then doing that. And you only learn that by listening and understanding them and having empathy, and not, if you're just trying to go out there to be the loudest one in the room or the most and grab all the attention for yourself, you're going to miss all these cues for what's going to really impress people. And especially in an international setting, that being the center of attention, you're probably making a bunch of kind of cultural mistakes and like insulting people.
I did many
more than you're impressing people. So that's really cool that he was able to give you that feedback. So what's kind of a first step that you recommend people take when they're going to thinking about expanding internationally? What's kind of like the first thing they need to be thinking about when it comes to building the right relationships in that new market?
Oh, regarding the relationships. So of course, my philosophy behind the whole business is not to be making any kind of cold calls or something. I'm usually a person's person, if you could say like that. So of course, to make new friends, it's never too late, to basically put yourself out there. Like, for example, if you're planning to do export, don't even plan that you will not have to be physically in a specific country. You have to understand the culture. Like if I would never have been like in particular countries, I would never understand like, how the whole country works, what are the prices inside there, what they like, what they don't like, like, so you have to plan like the whole export from basically making at least a first step, traveling in that country, to understand the demand of that country. And of course, so basically, if you go in these kind of events, like let's say, put yourself out there. There are so many different communities, like BNI community, chambers as well, like, the ones that are waiting all the time. And you can go in your own country's chamber, like, to ask some recommendations and so on. So they could even send you they can even send like a nice proposal to different chamber and say, hey, our partners are coming. Would you be able to take care of them and so on? So many different things. But of course, to put yourself out there and just basically try to, if I know Carl, I will try to come in your state. I would say, hey, Carl, like I'm coming to your state. Maybe you would be able to tell me where is the best place to go. Like, I would meet you for a coffee and so on. So yeah, cold calling in Europe, especially these days, doesn't work. So, so in USA, I saw that it's still working sometimes, but it's basically a luck thing. Like, you could be on the right time in the right place and that's it. But if you want to have consistency, if you want to have like not one-time sale, if you want to have like, contracts for 10, 5 years time frame, you have to have like relationships. So yeah, so that's basically that's the last thing, but not the last thing, but basically what is really important to do market research. Like, these kind of things needs to be done at least let's say 4 to 5 times throughout the year. Like, check your competitors, see what they are doing. Like, it's really easy with AI these days. You can at least write like, who are my competitors? They're going to give you like many options to see. You can even specify like where they are strong at, where do they sell. Even these kind of things are coming up, so yeah, so basically market research, and then to be well connected and be a super connector, if I could say it like that. So yeah.
All right, I totally agree. I think it's a great tip for anyone who's thinking about expanding internationally. So thank you so much for connecting with me today, Olivia. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection Podcast, please leave a review and subscribe. If you want to connect with myself or Olivia, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.